Good morning. Oh, excellent. Good. Everybody's awake. Please come. So, those of you know me know that end user panels are one of my favorite things, and they're one of my favorite things about the M events because I feel that we get an opportunity to actually talk to real people about what they're doing, what's working, what's not, why it's important, right? So I have the pleasure of having two great people on the panel with me today. Matt Schultz from USAA. We've known each other for a few years now, and we brought him in from Texas. And Sean Kennedy, who's actually new to me from Georgia Pacific, but actually happens to be a member of our Mobile Research Council that I run, so I'm pretty excited to have both of them on stage today. They're great guys, I think you'll agree. So without further ado, I'm going to launch it off and say, I thought we might start with a level set of what each of you do and what you're doing in mobile. So why don't we start with you, Matt?
Right,
What's your
thank
role
you.
in mobile, and what is USAA doing today?
A lot of great things, exciting time. We're really kind of at a crossroads of moving from kind of this menu-based navigational system to that's really based on our products and services to something that's more proactive. So using machine learning and new ways of navigating that goes beyond the mobile app. We're in that process, kind of level set on a strategy this year and looking at implementing and applying that over the course of the next couple of years.
So I didn't just throw in machine learning into my
Yeah.
presentation or nothing. Somebody
Yeah.
actually might be thinking about it.
Definitely. I think we're trying to use your term, right time experiences, but it's no longer good enough to just offer products and services, have them acquire and just service on mobile. We need to be where they're at and provide value-added services contextually. So I'm at a car dealership or I'm actually shopping. How do we, our mission as a company is to improve financial security. And internally, we've been since I've been there for 3 years, we've had a new EMM vendor pretty much every year. So,
Well, that's an interesting
kinda where we're at.
discussion as well. Sean, what's going on in your world?
So I work for Georgia Pacific, very large paper company, manufacturer. So I've got two sides of how I see mobility. One is we make products. So we've got an end motion paper towel dispenser. You wave your hand, paper towel comes out. So we're trying to think of how to innovate, with IoT in that world. Because a lot of time we have paper towels, and it's like, what do you do with technology and paper towels? It can be difficult. So because we
Digital transformation of paper. You've heard it here first.
So that's on one side of the business. We're really trying to innovate. We've got some hardware that has some electronics in it. So anything that has hardware electronics, you've got a real big upside of using technology in it. And then on the other side, we're just a huge manufacturer that's been around for a very long time. And you got to think of ways to make your manufacturing processes more efficient, more productive. And so in that world, there's a little bit more of a pull, like, hey, here's these amazing things you can do, versus on the consumer innovation side, they're like, hey, give us as much as we can handle. So it's two very different audiences, but I'm glad to report that the manufacturing side, they've finally seen what mobility could offer their business and are knocking on my door more than 3 years ago when I started this mission.
So what does that look like for you? Does that look like a lot of apps? Does it look like extending an intranet? What does mobile look like at Georgia Pacific?
So, in the beginning, it was all about sales, get as much information to sales as possible. I'd say the key part about that is KPIs, getting the business to actually recognize what is the important data points that I can then surface on a tablet. So I tell them, hey, I need probably 10 to 20 KPIs on a tablet. Then on a phone, I need 4 or 5 key pieces of information. And then on a watch, I need 1 or 2. But you need to lay that out for me because the technology is not a problem. I'll be able to, create the apps, do all that. But what exactly is going to make your sales rep sell more? What's that key data point? I need that from you, and that's been a journey.
Okay, so in your case, you started heavily with sales and the KPIs associated with that. Matt, on your side, what's mobile look like?
Well, I think we're trying to move to a distributed environment. So in a couple of years, I don't see the mobile phone as the centerpiece of how people reach USAA. I see, I mean, we want to be that financial angel on your shoulder to help you out wherever you're at, and that may not be with the app. Might be with you in your vehicle or at your house or with a key partner that we share a space, something like that.
So you actually see the concept of USAA becoming more ubiquitous, right? So you're
I
trying to
definitely see
embed your
that.
services into multiple areas and look at it as a more service portability.
I see that in the future. We have 30,000 some touch points in our app today. It's hard to access everything, all the value we offer today, but I think going forward, we can't do everything well. Our members trust us and want us to do everything that we possibly could, but we can't do all those things. So how do we partner with the right people and kind of grow beyond the app? So both distribute from a technology perspective and also partnership.
So you mentioned the word contextual. Contextual for a lot of people starts with a notion of location. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you're thinking about in contextual?
I think when you look at basically personalization, all of our experiences today, rather than starting from a menu, will be triggered. So that could be done by data. So knowing the right questions you want to ask or want to find out from your member for that creating that right time experience will trigger those situations, all the servicing needs. I'm tracking to see when you have purchased a car over the course of your life. At that every 7-year mark, we trigger something, are you ready for a new vehicle? Things like that. But it's not just context of location, but also really we have a ton of data. How do we start creating insights and deliver the right triggers to start our experiences?
Excellent. On your side, you were talking about basically paper towel holders and IoT. What does IoT look like at Georgia Pacific in general? There's many things that you've been talking about in that space. What are you working on today?
So with the two sides, so the one side on consumer is we're working with Amazon. So Georgia Pacific has big consumer brands like Dixie plates and cups, Brawny paper towels, Quilted Northern tissue. So we've been experimenting with the dash button in Amazon. So you just hit the button and you get more Dixie plates. So I think we've got 4 or 5 of the dash buttons out in the market. And so that's a little bit of IoT. And then it also goes into, how can we leverage Echo and the new Google Home to say you just walk into the kitchen and you just grab the last paper towel and you just say, order more paper towels.
And it knows to order your paper towels because it's got your history of paper towels from the past, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then in terms of manufacturing processes, IoT, we've been talking, a lot at this conference. IoT has been around for a long time. So I went into one of our large mills and said, hey, there's sensors, we can put them on things. They're like, yeah, we have 10,000 sensors in our manufacturing processes. So we don't really need sensors.
We're already on top of it, huh?
Yeah. So, I hung my head a little bit low. I wasn't the technology god that I thought I was going to be that day. But there's a lot that can be done to experiment. So that's where IoT is really different. Things are cheaper. So some sensors are so industrial, they're, $1,000 to $5,000. But we can get a vibration sensor for, $10, throw that on some machinery that is we think is having a problem, and start collecting data, analyze it, and then tear off that whole system and move it somewhere else. So we couldn't do that 10 years ago without a lot of investment.
Yeah, that sounds like you've got a huge opportunity to improve your business processes as a result of that.
Yeah, and even though we have a lot of sensors, I'm sure others in the room, these sensors generate a ton of data. And to say that we know how all that data works and it's perfectly normalized and it's predicting things all across the company, I don't think anyone says they've got that totally done. They're looking to do the next thing. So there's a lot of work to be done on data. And so our IoT lead has really shifted from IoT things, gadgets, sensors, to really focusing on what's that data element and really focusing on how does that make change and more productivity.
I think this data element's interesting to explore. You mentioned machine learning. You're talking about collecting lots of data with IoT. Machine learning's got to be pretty new for you guys at this point. So how are you dealing with day-to-day? Do you feel that machine learning is something that's experimental at this point, or?
It is. I think the machine learning isn't a black box right now that you throw all of your problems into it and out comes a perfect solution. And in some cases it is with like identifying fraud for us from a security perspective. But other than that, it takes you understanding the right questions and knowing what kind of experience you want. And those questions can be helped be optimized by machine learning. I think that's how it's starting. Over time, over the next year or two, you're going to start seeing what's actually working for other people. You don't see that too much in the marketplace today. What's working, what's not, and these companies are finding success there. So we're learning a little bit into it, but we have started that way.
Yeah, I'll have one tip about partnering. So this whole data analysis thing can be difficult, and a lot of times you'll partner with somebody to help figure it out. We're finding that the more that partner has worked in your industry, that makes a big difference. So whether you're in automotive or banking or retail, so if you have someone who's doing predictive, analytics and algorithms for you, the more that they're focused on your industry and have had 6 clients in that same industry, they're a way better partner than someone who's just really brilliant, but have never dealt with paper machines before. So you got to start way over. Okay, this is how you make paper. These are the data points that make, making paper more efficient. And if you've got someone that's worked, on 6 paper projects, they're going to be way better. So really focus on what's the vendor's experience in your industry.
That makes a ton of sense. Now, we talk a lot in mobile about usability. And I think the concepts of usability and what usability is have evolved over the years. When you guys think of mobile and usability, what are you trying to do today? Is this something in terms of the development environment? Is it something in terms of contextual services? Like, how is usability playing out in your organizations?
I can go. I think from an architecture side, we're looking at componentizing everything. Kind of heard microservices talked about a lot here. But as you start individualizing experiences for everybody, you're going to have data deliver a lot of different pieces of content up to the screen. So members have told us that they want these individualized experiences, and I think proactively we want to start delivering those in the right time in the right place. And that's not easy. It's really reformulating how you work as a company, not only from an agile perspective, but even when you go out and do research, you look at kind of this happy path way of doing things, and the whole departments are set up around that. So we've had a lot of funnel management done, and you have compliance and legal and all these partners in IT, and they've solved things one way. Now you have 100 or 1,000 different ways to solve experiences for people, and I think that's going to be the future, is finding that sweet spot and also self-optimizing those. So you can be developing a lot of content and using machine learning and multiple iterations of the same content that starts fitting people on what they're using.
Yeah, and in terms of usability from the perspective of on the manufacturing floor, some of these job roles are getting mobile apps to make their jobs easier, but they've never even used a computer before. They've worked a production line for a long time, and we're saying, hey, in order to manage this machine more efficiently, we're going to give you a tablet or a smartphone. And when you first look at it, you're like, well, usability, we really want to make this simple. But you can't just say it's the Facebook app simple. Like, that paradigm might work for a knowledge worker because they're using Facebook every day, but not everybody uses Facebook that much, and so that design model doesn't necessarily translate. So I've thought of, a bartender, their interface, they need to move quickly and get information into a system. So when you look at that system, it's just blocks. So you click the different types of drinks, and you go in what they want, and they can rapidly move through menus just hitting squares, and I'm sure you've seen people do that at restaurants. And so we try to think about that model when we try to design our apps, real easy to use, real fast. And we've been having a lot more success once we roll out an app. They're just like, wow, this is painfully simple. I don't use a computer, but I like using this.
That actually makes a ton of sense. So what are the big challenges that you're struggling with in your organization today as it relates to mobile? Maybe we can start with you, Sean.
So I'd say the biggest challenge, especially when you've got large company, IT has been around for a long time, and we have this shift where, all right, when the business thinks of IT, they think of existing apps. And so how do I make this existing app better, more innovative? Be like, no, you want IT to be at the table for what are they doing for that whole transformative moment? Does IT have a seat at the table? So you really just want to be a partner. And that can be difficult because you got to, over time, you got to prove yourself that you are innovative. You have resources to help. It's not just external partners that have worked on projects. And so we've really done innovation events, hackathons. And we've partnered with different parts of the business to do a hackathon, and they're like, wow, that group of people is really helping us out. They've got tons of ideas. I've never even heard of a lot of these technologies, but it's not just like, a link or a video. It's like, wow, they used those technologies on problems that we told them we had, and now we've got a prototype that we can start to use. It really shifts it more than just quick information dump.
For me, it's really looking at these new technology experiences, tying kind of this new world of data to experience design. You've got kind of a left brain philosophy on one side, on the technology data side, and creative energy on the other side with experience design. Trying to match those two things together, we're trying to figure all that out. And not only that, but the data in itself, we've been using it to really optimize kind of our current products and services, but as you start growing at the edge a little bit and data's telling us maybe we can offer different services or new digital products this way, that's a new muscle for USA to start flexing.
That actually makes a lot of sense. So, one of the things we like to try to do here is provide advice. We've talked a little bit about challenges. We've talked a little bit about your futures. What advice do you have for the audience as they go forth in their mobile journey? Sean, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'd say just from you and your job role, obviously doing what we're doing today is just build your network. So there's so many great companies doing so many amazing things. Instead of just sitting in a room by yourself, Googling all of this information and just trying to capture it all yourself, just lean on other friends in the business. So like in the Atlanta community, we have got great companies. We got Coca-Cola, we've got Delta, we've got Home Depot, we've got UPS. So really reach out in your local neighborhood and try to pull together who are the mobile leads, who's working on mobile problems. And that's really helped me in my journey because, the problems are all shared, and how do you get solutions that have been tried and worked so you don't repeat the ill wills that you're gonna anyways.
Excellent. On your side, Matt?
For me, I really want to encourage everybody to get out and get with your customers or your employees. From the enterprise mobility side, that's really been a gap. It's been kind of out-of-the-box solutions out there, but really see how people can use software and don't just adapt your product to them, create your product from scratch using understanding their use. And I think we're just starting that on the enterprise mobility side. From the business to consumer side, that's really been invaluable for us. I've been at members' homes and their place of work, at the Pentagon, all these different places, and all that makes a difference on how they use our technology, and we apply that to our user experience design and ultimately affects the technology and architecture we build.
So with that, I would love to thank our panelists. Round of applause.